Amazon is offering the best of wages as compared to any of the tech giants or startups in the recent times. So there is already a huge demand for its job in the market. As the demand goes up, the difficulty has to go up. So despite of students working really hard for it, they're finding it really difficult to crack the design rounds, if not coding alone. But not anymore, because by the time you end up watching this video, you will have the perfect strategy as well as the set of resources that will guarantee your 100% success in cracking Amazon SDE2 rounds and make your dream come true. Hi, I'm Shakti. Currently, I'm working as a SD2 at Amazon. Last year, I cracked Amazon interview rounds with highly positive feedbacks. Since then, I've been helping many of my friends as well as my college juniors to achieve the same. Coming to this video, it will be entirely about how to prepare for all the interviews that happen for Amazon's software engineering roles, especially SDE2. So, without further ado, let's get started. So let me give you an overview of what we are going to discuss. Firstly, we'll talk about the interview pattern as well as the processes involved in detail. Secondly, we'll dive deep into the technical part of the round, what all strategy as well as resources to use in order to prepare for them. I'll also tell some of the topics that demand extensive preparation from your side and also the mistakes that you need to avoid while preparing for them. Thirdly, we'll hop into the non-technical aspects of the round, basically in which they check how much of a fit you are to their team's culture and the company's culture in general, as well as your managerial skills. That is how well you manage the time as well as the various situations. In between, I'll also be sharing some of the pro tips that will come really handy and will make you stand apart in the crowd. So be attentive throughout the video. So let's begin. Firstly, let me tell you, the interview pattern for both SD1 and SD2 is a bit different, because if you have applied for SD2, then it automatically implies that you must be prepared well for SD1 rounds as well, because rounds of SD2 includes all the rounds of SD1 along with some additional design rounds. So for SD1, they mostly emphasize on your problem solving as well as coding skills that has mostly to do with data structures and algorithms. Meanwhile, for SD2, the same skills will be tested, but along with it, some of your design skills and your knowledge around it will also be tested. So a total of 5 rounds will happen. First one will be the online assessment round. The second one will be the DS Algo round. The third one will be the low level design round. The fourth one will be the high level design or system design round. The fifth one will be the bar raiser round. So I'll be explaining you how and what all to prepare for each of these rounds step by step. In the online assessment round, your assessment will be based on your basic DS Algo skills, your debugging skills, and your general personality assessment. By the way, this round mostly happens when the recruiter directly reaches out to you without any referral or you have applied via careers page. In case of referrals, this round mostly gets skipped and directly the on-site round happen for you for the team for which you have been referred to by your friend. So I would advise you to get referrals instead. Before I explain it to you on how to prepare this online assessment round, let me tell you one thing, that if you do clear this round, then only you will be eligible for the next 4 on-site rounds as I mentioned before. Out of which, the first on-site round will be focusing entirely on the DSLGO problem solving skills, where you will be given 50 minutes to solve 2 DSLGO problems, and in the last 10 minutes, they will basically ask leadership principle questions from you. I will explain you how to basically prepare for this leadership principle questions as well as general personality assessment in the very end of this video. Firstly, let me explain you on how to prepare these 2 DSLGO rounds. That is the first one online assessment round and the second one the first on-site round. Before jumping onto the preparation of DSA, I'll first recommend you to revise the programming language in which you're going to code within the round. For example, C, C++, Java, Python. For me, I preferred C++. So I basically revised all the main concepts related to pointers, difference between pass by value, pass by reference, structs, classes, application of STLs, and basics of memory allocation and stuff like that. Side by side, also solve some debugging problems so that to get a better grasp of the programming language syntax. You may find the syntax-based debugging problems in any of the book from which you're going to learn the coding language. I saw Dennis Ritchie's Introduction to C book and also did multiple websites for these syntax-based debugging problems. I've also pasted the links for these resources in the description, so you can check them out. Now once that's done, it's our time to prepare for the DSA problems as usual. Let me tell you one more thing, like in both these rounds, the problems asked are not too difficult to solve. For example, in the online test, both the problems that are given, their logic is quite easy, but is implementation heavy, that I'll agree. So I would suggest you to solve a lot of string problems because they emphasize a lot on that in that particular round. Also, don't expect problems to be very much based on heavy data structures because in this round, they mostly test your implementation skills. After you have submitted the solution for each of these questions in the online test, you might also have to write a short description of each of your solution and also state the time and space complexity for each of them. So I would recommend you to learn how to calculate the time and space complexity for a solution. Now in the first on-site round, the DSLGO problems might have easy, medium difficulty and which focus mainly on basic data structures and pretty standard coding problems. For example, depth first search, breadth first search related problems, maximum area in a histogram, and some implementation problems related to 2D matrices, STLs, and stuff like that. Thus, I would suggest you to go through these algorithms that are stated on your screen and do practice the data structures that are needed to implement them. I would suggest you to just deeply go through their theory and do a couple of standard problems of it. You can watch multiple theory videos on YouTube for each of these algorithms in order to understand them accurately. After completing it, I always recommend everyone to solve all the questions on the interview bit platform till level 7. All these problems are popular and epic. They cover basic complexities of all the algorithms and build a solid foundation for you and help you a lot in developing your thinking brain. Then comes the most important part of the preparation, which is the main study material for these rounds. Go to Geeks for Geeks website and search for Amazon's question bank and solve all the easy medium problems. I think there are around 300 such problems, but don't worry, solve only those which you think you need to practice. Rest you can just read and try to figure out the solution, and then you are good to go. One important disclaimer: in the worst case scenario, there are some questions which might get thrown at you just to challenge you, because these questions are really tough to implement under a given time frame. So I would suggest you to revise them thoroughly. These are implementing LRU cache, solving problems using heaps instead of STLs wherever required, and implementation of AVL tree. Some Amazon interviewers really love to ask these three types of questions, so please prepare them thoroughly. Also, a good thing is that unlike Google's coding rounds, here if you're able to provide a solution that interviewer really wants under the given time frame, then they will mostly give you a positive feedback. There is no such thing as strict checking of code quality or code verbosity in Amazon DSL Go rounds. A pro tip that I would love to give you is that most of the time, it's really hard to come up with the most optimal solution for two coding problems in 45 minutes. So sometimes the interviewer just wants a solution which is naive instead of an optimal one. So do clear that out in the very beginning of the interview, like how good of a solution he wants from your side, so that you both are on the same page. This cross communication is the key here in such rounds. Now let's jump onto the low level design or machine coding round. So what is low level design round? Well, in this round, you will be asked to design and implement a functionality or a system that contains multiple functionalities that basically solves a real world problem or has any practical use case. Designing, I mean you have to explain the whole step by step working of that functionality or the system, what all components will be there and their corresponding role in basically making that functionality or system work, what all components may or may not interact with each other. And now from implementing, I mean you have to implement the various classes and the interfaces corresponding to all the components of that particular system and how they basically interact with each other, and also implement the various methods of each of these classes that basically perform the desired task of that particular system or functionality. So for its preparation, I would suggest you to master one coding language of which you find the OOPS concept relatively easier to implement. For example, in my case, C++ was my go-to language to solve any DSLGO problems. However, for low-level design problems, I use Python always. You can use Java or any other language. I think Java is used the most, so you can use that. Whichever language you choose, revise the OOPS concept specific to it and also its application. For example, how and when to create child classes, how to implement interfaces, what are abstract classes, how polymorphism and abstraction works here, and so on. Once it's done, I would suggest you to open this repository containing Grokking's object-oriented design course and solve all the problems present in it. I've pasted the link for it in description. For low-level design rounds, I believe this is the greatest course that exists for someone like us who always encounter these kind of rounds here and there in all the software engineering roles we apply for. And also, I think it has the most exhaustive list of problems that will basically cover all the problems concepts that are used in low-level design. So do check this course out. It won't take more than 20 days for you to complete this entire course, even if you solve one problem each day. Also, don't just learn to code from this course, but also learn how to draw the class diagrams, use case diagrams, sequence diagrams. That is everything that is mentioned in this entire course from start to end, because everything is important. One more thing, in this particular course, all the solutions of the problems that are mentioned are written in extreme detail. So in order to optimize your preparation, what you can do is, whenever you approach one of its problems, first try to solve it without looking at the solution. Make class diagrams, use case diagrams, and sequence diagrams along with its implementation. And once that is done, try to verify it with the original solution that is actually present inside the course. Try to find where you can improve. And once that is also done, again implement the entire solution without looking from the original one. This way of learning is not just fast but also strengthens your concepts really well. Now some pro tips for low-level design rounds. In this round, the interviewer will mostly give you a vague problem statement, and it's your job to basically sync with him regarding the clarity of the problem. Also, in this interview, the interviewer will mostly judge you on the basis of how you enumerate various system requirements from that particular vague problem statement. So do focus on that. Also remember that writing the low-level design code for that entire problem statement is kind of impossible in just 50 minutes, right? For example, if the interviewer asks you design Facebook, then you know, right? Like in 50 minutes, you just cannot design all the components of the Facebook. So in this case, I would suggest you to explain the overall components of the entire system of Facebook using class diagram and use case diagrams, showcasing what all classes will be there and how they will interact and all the interfaces that are present in them. And then asking the interviewer like which component they want you to dive deep in. Hence, you can implement a working solution for that particular component and rest you can explain verbally. In short, how I utilize my time in low-level design rounds, it's something like this. Problem statement clarification, I take only 2 minutes. System requirements clarification and discussion, I take around 8 minutes. Then explaining all the classes and their fields, interfaces and components, I take around 15 minutes. And finally, giving a working solution for one of the components, I take around 20 minutes. So do this, I assure you, you will ace this round definitely. Now comes the last part of the technical rounds, which is the system design or high level design round. I think this is the toughest and the most important round for the selection criteria of SDE2 at Amazon. I think it can really make or break your deal because this particular round is taken by the hiring manager of the team for which your application is getting reviewed. So I would suggest you to prepare for this round, especially for 1.5 to 2 months, and that too with full dedication. For SD2, this round holds so much weightage that even if your last two on-site rounds went just average, and if this round goes great, then there's a high chance for a selection. But don't worry, I have a complete practical guide on how to ace it. So let me explain it to you step by step. So before jumping onto the points, let me remind you that based on your years of experience, the expectations from your end for this particular round may vary. For example, if you currently are SD1 or a junior at your current company and applying for SG2 of Amazon, then they don't expect you to be very good at it. They just want you to, ask open-ended questions as well as be confident while attempting the problem. But if you really are SD2 and are basically having 5+ years of experience, then they might expect you to have in-depth knowledge about the principles of system design as well as the technology needed to implement it. So prepare for it wisely. But in my humble opinion, if you do have time in your hand and you are preparing for system design round, then why not prepare for it thoroughly? Because it is a one-time investment. So before starting, what is high-level design or system design? High-level design is a broad view of a system or a solution that provides a conceptual understanding of systems architecture and all its components. So in our context, it's like designing Facebook Messenger, Twitter feed, Google Drive, etc. So it typically includes an overview of systems structure, its main components or modules, their relationships, and the interaction between them. So to start, I would first recommend you to revise these three things. Basics of networking, that is how internet works in general. What is TCP IP? What is three-way handshake? What is IP address? How does IP address works? How does masking and all works? And similar network related stuff. The second thing would be to revise basics of operating system. That is what is threading, what is boot, what's the difference between RAM and ROM, what are processes, and what is the difference between mutex or semaphore, and similar stuff. And lastly, I would say you to revise basics of database management system, which is DBMS. OS and networking don't have much to do with system design in general, but it might help you to understand the system better as a whole. And hence, even if the interviewer tries to trap you somewhere with questions related to these topics, you will feel confident enough to give an explanation for it. So don't worry, I have already pasted the links in description for all these resources and study material. You can check it out. Then I would recommend you to go through all of these topics that are shown on your screen one by one and prepare them thoroughly. These topics are a must. You can learn that from YouTube, or there are other resources as well from where you can learn it. I have also pasted the links for their study material as well as other resources in the description, so you can check that out too. Once that is done, now here comes the most important part of your HLD preparation, which is completing the Grokking System Design course. Believe me, it is the greatest course and it is present on educative.io website. You can check it out. I know it might cost you around $30 to $60, but believe me, it's worth it. It is a one-time investment for the next 10 years of your career. If you thoroughly complete this course, then you won't need anything else to prepare for high level design rounds or system design rounds, like ever. If you have budget constraints, then I would recommend you to ask some of your friends who are basically preparing for system design interviews like you, and ask them to buy this course along with you and share the expense. I think somewhere on the internet it is also available in free, most probably on github.com. So if I'm able to find it, I'll just paste the link in the description so you can check that out. Believe me, this is the greatest course for system design interviews. And believe me, if you try to, do it completely and very thoroughly, then I'm sure that you will ace the system design rounds. So after purchasing it, just try to read and understand this entire course at least 4 to 5 times, because this course is just of 180 pages or 180 slides, and I think it's very much doable to revise it for 4 to 5 times. While completing this course, I learned all the topics that were mentioned in the glossary section of this course, and also watched multiple YouTube videos for each of the topics that were mentioned, so as to strengthen my concepts and skills as much as I can. I've also watched a lot of Gaurav Sen's videos on system design. His videos are present on his YouTube channel. I have pasted the link in the description. You can check them out. If you have enough time, you can even check his entire YouTube channel, because he makes content around system design only, and his videos are just amazing. Post that, I completed this course once without trying to apply too much brain of mine on how to basically solve each and every problem on my own, because it helped me to understand basically how to approach these problems in the very first place, and also helped me understand basically the framework of these system design interviews. But in the next 4 revisions, I first looked at the problem and then tried coming up with the solution on my own by verbally explaining the solution, and then simultaneously looking back to the solution that is present in the course and cross verifying whether I'm on the correct path or not, up till a point when I'm able to write and verbally explain the entire solution in one single go without cross verifying from the original solution. So that is what I did. Meanwhile, I also practiced a lot on how to draw the system design architecture of the problems. That is like all the various components and stuff, like where to add redundancy, where to add load balancer, where to add replication, and all the stuff like that. And I also made a habit of drawing the components and side by side verbally explaining the entire architecture that I'm drawing. I practiced all of it in apps.diagrams.net website, so you can check that out. In interviews also, it is better to explain it diagrammatically instead of just writing or verbally explaining the solution. As you continue your practice, a time will come when you will start feeling comfortable in at least giving an average solution for any design problem which is not even in this course, because most of your design problems have components similar to what is already there in this course. That's why I think this course is really great. Now let me share with you some of my pro tips. So tip number one, in this round, the interviewer might try to pressurize you, pinpoint your mistakes, and even try to find mistakes in many of your aspects related to cap theorem, load balancing, system requirement section, etc. So don't lose your temper, because it's just to check if you can perform under pressure or not. Tip number two, try to show the interviewer that you're not just able to design the architecture well, but also have a proper understanding of the product that you're making in general. Because a great tech architect is always considered a great product owner or a product designer. For example, if you're told to make a movie ticket booking app, then you must be able to tell them that how the customer facing app will behave like, and what the theater facing app that will basically update the seat configuration and shows seat availability will behave like. You must know its end-to-end working and not just designing the architecture in general. Tip number three, communicate effectively and smartly. Don't try to touch a topic in which you don't have much command or confidence. Otherwise, the interviewer might ask you to dive deep into it and you might get fumbled. So always focus on presenting a solution based on your strong aspects. Now coming on to tip number four, revise database management system thoroughly, because it is the most important concept in system design interviews, and the interviewer can make loads of questions on just this particular topic just to make you fumble. Also learn about the various databases that are present right now, like DynamoDB, Cassandra, MongoDB, Postgres, MySQL, Redis, etc. And I mean, there are various use cases and in which areas they're better and in which areas they are not. For example, if you're asked to design an online chatting system, you might tell them that you will prefer NoSQL DB for it. So tell them why and also which NoSQL DB will you use. Explaining that shows that you don't have just a theoretical knowledge for it, but you also know its practical applications as well. One more thing that I feel you should know about is the last round, which is called the bar raiser round. So what is asked in this round depends on your feedback over the past three on-site rounds that happened. For example, if your DSL go round and system design round went well, but your low-level design round went below average, then in bar raiser round, low-level design problems will be asked from you. Basically, whichever round went the weakest for you, you will be given a second chance to improve in it in the bar raiser round. Also, if more than one round went bad out of the last 3 rounds that happened for you, then I don't think even bar raiser can save you, and you might get rejected for SDE2 application or might get downgraded to SDE1. So please prepare for each of these rounds wisely. Now coming on to the non-technical aspects of these rounds. So basically all the 4 on-site rounds that happened were of 1 hour. The first 50 minutes were given to problem solving, which is the technical aspect of the round. And the remaining 10 minutes, the interviewer will ask you leadership principle questions or might do your general personality assessment. From general personality assessment, the interviewer might want to know like how you basically approach your work. So they might ask you whether you are a procrastinator or not, do you follow a timetable, do you accept your own mistakes or not, and stuff like that. Amazon as a company has certain leadership principles which they're really serious about. You can check it out on their official career page. I've also pasted the link in the description so you can check it out from there also. So within the 10 minutes of every round that I was talking about, you might get asked a lot of leadership principle questions from the interviewer. Some examples of these questions are what initiative you took on your own, what could have been improved, what feedback did you get from the manager, how did you tackle any kind of miscommunication between you and a team member, how did you respond to a negative feedback by a manager, have you ever failed to deliver on time, and so on. Please practice these questions beforehand. Please do not take them lightly because Amazon values their leadership principles a lot. So even if you excel in your technical part of the rounds now, if you fail to give a proper explanation to the leadership principle questions that are asked to you in the interviews, then you might get rejected, no matter which role you're applying for. In the end, based on the feedbacks of these rounds, the recruiter will reach out to you and tell you whether you are selected or not. I know that preparation is going to be really intense, especially the design part, but with proper strategy, which I have presented to you all, anyone can crack it. A total of 3 to 4 months of preparation might be enough. So guys, I hope you liked this video and I'll be coming up with more such preparation content like this. So please stay tuned and also comment on this particular video and tell me like on what all topics you want me to make a roadmap or tutorial or whatever. Also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel most importantly if you haven't, because it will motivate me to create more such videos which will help you all. And also, I'll be sharing many tips and tricks on how to improve your coding efficiently and crack other job interviews. Also, do check out my previous video on which I have basically explained the complete roadmap on how to crack Google interviews L3 or L4. It's a very great video and you will definitely love it. Till then, stay tuned.